This week's race saw some unexpected events go down. It is Monza after all, but the most surprising of all came, the unforeseen oil leak on McLaren's side of the garage. In this video, we'll talk about how an oil leak robbed Daniel Ricciardo of a points finish in the Italian Grand Prix, and what the future holds for the F1 driver. Let's get started. First up, what exactly happened? Australian driver Daniel Ricciardo was only 6 laps away from climbing the victory pole with a much-needed point finish during the Italian Grand Prix when disaster struck. During lap 46, he rolled to a stop, which drew the safety car, under which the event would ultimately come to an end. McLaren identified a rather unforeseen oil leak as the case of Ricciardo's retirement from the Formula One Italian Grand Prix. This one hurts. His McLaren idly sat on the edge of the popular track at Monza for the final stages of the evening's race on Sunday. Thanks to the oil leak, the race came to quite an anticlimactic end. He was running 8th in the closing stages at Monza when he was forced to shut down and park his McLaren 36 between the two Lusmo corners. Since the car was stuck in gear, stewards were unable to move it quickly from the track, leaving him and the vehicle stranded on the sidelines. Team principal Andreas Seidel claimed that they still need to wait for the car to come back to the garage to assess the damage and where the leak came from. Ricciardo ran 3rd at the end of the opening lap and spent much of the track under the top 10 in one of the strongest races he's had this season, which is why this unfortunate finish makes it especially awful. The timing couldn't have been worse for him. Next, the suspected oil leak. Andreas confirmed that Daniel had radioed them about the lost engine, and their suspicion about the oil leak was confirmed when the car came to a halt. As for the root cause of the oil leak, he claimed that this is still something they need to analyze. What a shame for the Australian. Seidel also said that it's obviously very unfortunate for Ricciardo and the entire McLaren team after such an incredibly strong weekend. The race today couldn't get the team the points they deserved, and that's something the entire team will definitely be looking into. What could they have improved, and why did the engine fail them? Ricciardo told reporters after the race that he felt like he was doing a good job at holding off Gasly behind him, but didn't have more to show than that. He called the race a busy one, but felt like he had his rhythm on the hard tires with only a few more laps to go. But as luck would have it, he was entirely struck out by the 46th lap. Like every disappointed driver, he felt that it would have been obviously great to get the points today, but it wasn't meant to be. This one especially breaks our hearts considering the season he's had. Not to mention the bizarre curse of the Monza track. The Italian Grand Prix has had some bizarre turn of events, with even last year's victor unable to finish the entire race. Strange coincidence? We'll let you be the judge of that. In 2020, Ferrari's top star Charles Leclerc also fell victim to the same curse as AlphaTauri's Pierre faced in the year after that. To say that something fishy is going on at the Monza track would be the understatement of the year. Understandably, McLaren is desperate at this point to close the gap between Alpine and themselves in the Constructors' Championship, and Ricciardo's finish, or rather lack of finish, comes as one of the untimely setbacks that the team could not have anticipated. Lando Norris managed to finish at P7 after a fantastic drive at Monza, and for McLaren, that means they sit a mere 18 points behind their biggest rivals, Alpine. Following up, is Daniel Ricciardo leaving McLaren? It looks like this year just hasn't been in favor of Ricciardo at all. Earlier, McLaren revealed that it was cutting ties with Ricciardo, with 12 months still remaining for the driver in his contract with the tremendous team. The 8-time Grand Prix winner could be all set for a massive payout, ranging close to $25 million, considering his enormous salary and all the attached performance bonuses. Guess it really pays to be an F1 driver. The native from Perth released a video to his social media accounts, which ultimately clarified that it was the team's decision to end his contract and not something he wanted to do. Ouch. He shared that the news wasn't great and kind of bittersweet and wanted his fans to hear from him first. He confirmed that 2022 will be his last year with McLaren. Moving on to finish the rest of the year, Ricciardo said that a lot of effort was put in from both sides, but it just didn't work out how everyone had envisioned, which is why the team decided to make a change for the following year. There were a lot of team discussions about the future, but ultimately they mutually decided that it was the right thing for both the team and him at this moment. We feel for you, Daniel. He claimed to absolutely finish out the year and continue to give it everything he's got. We love his fresh take on honesty and remaining transparent with all his fans. What does the future hold for Ricciardo? The F1 driver claims that, as of now, he has no idea what the future future holds for him, but he'll see where it lands him. Looking back on his time spent with McLaren will always come with a smile, and he feels that he's learned a lot about himself, especially a few things that not only will help him in the next steps he needs to take in his career, but also for his life in general. He opened up about how he admits he wasn't always able to be consistent about the results they wanted and his form, and that made some of the weekends really tough. But he also has great memories with his team that he'd be glad to keep with him. There's been much speculation over Ricciardo stepping away from the sport entirely or diving headfirst into the world of IndyCar racing, but he negated all those rumors by stating otherwise. He still loves the sport and hasn't let any of his unfortunate incidents affect that. Ricciardo also said that as long as he has a fire within him, he will always have a belief that he can perform at the highest level, and that's something he will continue to strive towards. This is definitely not the end of Daniel Ricciardo, and we're loving his enthusiasm. Coming up, where does this leave the Italian-Australian driver on the F1 grid? Other than that one successful weekend at Monza last year in 2021, nothing has gone right for the Perth driver at the McLaren team, and perhaps it's time he considered a significant switch. The move could certainly change the trajectory of his career, which seems to be somewhere up in the air right now. At the moment, Alpine is short of a driver for next year's season since F1 icon Fernando Alonso left the team to replace Sebastian Vettel, who's retiring at Aston Martin. This is especially interesting because that could mean a slot could potentially open up for Ricciardo. Incidentally, he's also rumored to be chased by the season's underdog, the Haas F1 team. As the 33-year-old's future in F1 remains shrouded in mystery for now, one of the sport's most popular teams has reportedly approached the Italian-Australian driver to have potential talks about a vacancy on the team. Could Daniel Ricciardo be considering a spot on the Haas F1 team? If he is, it'll definitely make things a lot more interesting for next season. Let's talk about whether Haas can afford to sign Daniel Ricciardo. But the truth is, Haas actually might not be able to even afford Ricciardo's insane salary, since the Aussie currently earns a whopping $20-something million salary each year. Haas's very own Mick Schumacher is reportedly getting paid less than $2 million annually. That is a mighty difference. Even though a return to Alpine's team, which was formerly known as Renault, appears to be the most likely next move for Ricciardo, rumors suggest that he might find himself somewhere else on the F1 grid for 2023. Finally, where does that leave him? Daniel Ricciardo made it very clear that he still wants the sport to dominate his life from a competitive point of view, but he's never been the kind of guy who will stay on the grid just for the sake of being on the grid. He says he's talking to teams and wants to do this properly, but perhaps now isn't the time. He says that he doesn't know where that leaves him, but he's prepared to sit out the 2023 season if he's unable to find his place with a team that would put him near the front of the grid. That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any thoughts about Daniel Ricciardo's unfortunate incident? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.